Morning Year 12, and if you've clicked on this video, thank you very much for watching. I think you'll probably be in it for the long haul here. It might be quite a long assembly, hopefully trying to be around that 20-minute mark, but got quite a lot of things to just pass on to you. There's no reason for the picture of the cat, I just thought it was a funny picture. So on to your notices for this week. So really impressed with the standard of work that I'm receiving from history, and I know that your teachers are saying the exact same things because I'm getting messages from them. Really, a massive credit to you for getting on with your work under these trying circumstances and trying your hardest. It's really pleasing to see the amount of effort that people are going into. But just a reminder for everyone, if you're not sure about the work, if you're struggling with it, if you have any queries whatsoever, just email your teachers. Your teachers will be understanding during this period. They have been already. And if you have any queries or other problems, just message Miss Sparks or myself, and we'll get back to you. EPQ online lessons are available on this YouTube account. The one that's for today is about how to choose your question. A few people are starting the EPQ having not really approached it before, so you can have a look at that. If you've already started it, it might be worth just reviewing that, just making sure that your question is appropriate. Likewise, the AS Thinking Skills lessons are also on this YouTube account, so the first video has been uploaded and you can watch that. I'm sorry about the delay on that particular one, trying to get a few things organised and trying to get the resources on that. So I did say that would run along the same sort of time frame as the EPQ, but my apologies for the delay this past week. With the assembly idea, I'm going to be uploading these videos every single Monday, so they'll continue, and hopefully what I should be able to do after a while is try and get a bit more stories of what specific students are doing, and hopefully celebrate that as well. So this will be for the duration perhaps of this half term if we're still in lockdown. A few of you have been asking about 2021 exams. That's really proactive of you. It's really taking the initiative. But I just want to say that that's a long way off, and the picture will change from now until then. And how that picture looks, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen over the course of the next few weeks, let alone what's going to happen in 2021. So my advice for those people who are worried about the 2021 exams is concentrate on what we can control now and what we know. And really, if we just concentrate on what we can control, then we just need to focus on the work that we've got, and any kind of task that we're setting. So it's our job as facilitators and teachers to pass on the main bits of knowledge. So don't worry about those things that are outside of our control at this moment. I just want to direct your attention as well to this link, and if I remember when I upload it onto YouTube, I'll make sure that I try and put that as a link in the description. A number of organisations are getting their head around the fact that professional organisations, institutions or speakers won't be able to go into schools and pass on information. You'll know that we've had a lot of guest speakers come in for assemblies, and I don't just want to have me being the only person perhaps passing on pointers at the start of the week. So if you go onto Speakers for School website and you follow that particular link, there are a number of virtual talks that are being done by a number of professionals. So there is one actually today, the 27th of April at 10 AM from a gentleman from the BBC. So it might be worth your time having a look at the schedule and seeing if there's any talks that might be of particular interest to you. I just want to remind as well a few people about the opportunities for societies and supercurricular, with the caveat that there's no pressure to get involved. It's purely voluntary. It's completely up to you. The Debating Society question this week, big thanks to Noah and Zaina for doing the work on this one. The question is about whether or not the UK voting age should be lowered to 16. So the premise that's been offered is that the UK voting age should be lowered to 16. If you do politics, I'd highly recommend going onto the website. It is a question that you'd have to do for your EdXL course anyway. And as all students, all of you are, the fact that you're over the age of 16, it is quite an interesting question perhaps for you, if we were to have a snap general election prior to you becoming 18. Another point, last week for this month's book for the Literature Society, so next week we'll be having a new book. The book is Call of the Wild by Jack London for April. It's available for free on Audible. It's about 4 hours as a listen. Really interesting read, completely different. It's set in the Yukon Gold Rush at the tail end of the 19th century. Involves the story of a dog. It's quite an old book. It's about 100 years, but gave a lot of inspiration to books like War Horse, for example. A number of you are saying that you're missing out on sport and you're missing out on the camaraderie that goes alongside it. So just as an idea, there's something that I read up on from Twitter. Set challenges for your daily runs. So if you're going on a daily run and you're doing your exercise, you can download apps such as Strava. You can set challenges against different people. So if you live in a similar area, you can see who's the quickest over a certain stretch of road or pavement, but just ensure that you are following the social distancing guidelines. That's absolutely crucial. It's really important that we still continue to do that. The better that we do that, the quicker that we can get out of this lockdown situation. A lot of you have sent private emails over the past week to say that you're struggling with motivation and that you're struggling to get going again. I think by Friday, I think a lot of people had kind of combated that. But just a few pointers on that particular one. The first thing that I would suggest that you do is you set out a timetable for the day. Not having a timetable from the school perspective means that you've got more distractions that are available to you. So have a timetable, create it at the start of the week. It should really be exactly like your normal school timetable, and you can do that. You can just say, here is my school timetable. I'm going to follow it exactly as I would as if I was in school. But it might be the case that you're going for a daily exercise at a certain time period. It might be that you're doing something like Joe Wicks at 9 o'clock. It might be that you're helping people out. It might be that you're building something. I know a few people in the year group are doing that at the moment in their gardens. So factor those particular points in. But what I'll do is on email on Show My Homework, I'll send through the first TQ booklet, the first TQ lecture that we had, because it was a long time ago, and I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of you have forgotten some of the points from it. So it's really just designed, that first talk and the booklet to go alongside it was to go through some strategies to help improve your motivation, really focusing in on space, physical health, specifically sleep, task lists, and then intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. Those final two are really important for your self-worth during this particular time period. So I'm not going to go through all of those points at the moment, but that is something that you'll have a booklet from via email and on Show My Homework. So please do have a look back through that, and you can, if you've still got your TQ booklets, you can have a look at some of the notes that you made at that particular time as well. So hopefully that might be of use to people. The main purpose of today's assembly is to go through our focus for this particular half term, which is on UCAS and higher apprenticeships. If we were still in school and we weren't in this lockdown process, we would have already by now have had our parental meeting, and we've had our UCAS launch, and actually this forthcoming week would have been our end of year 12 summer exams. Obviously that's all changed, but we do want to have a certain degree of normality. So as a result, we're going to launch the UCAS / higher apprenticeships full process today. There's some work that I'd like you to do ready for next week, and we'll be checking in on that as well remotely. And the idea is that by the end of this particular half term, we should have something that we can almost get out the way. So rather than having it hanging over us as an extra thing to do, we can come back if lockdown is restricted after this particular half term. I don't know if it is, but if it is, and this one particular task will be done. So what we need to do is we need to be aware of the process for UCAS and higher apprenticeship. So the first thing that's usually involved is about attainment and experiences. Then it's about recording, exploring and preparing for the very final stage, which is that submission. What we're going to do today is just talk about how you can explore those first two steps and what you need to do. And really, it should be things that a lot of you are doing already. Now, with submission, that final step, this is what's going to happen. So by about end of October, start of November, you'll all have be registered on UCAS, even if you're not applying for universities. You'll have registered on UCAS. It doesn't cost anything to register. It does cost if you're submitting an application, and the vast majority of you will be sending off UCAS applications. If you're applying for a higher apprenticeship, that might be sooner. There are a number of you that need to perhaps look into particularly financial higher apprenticeships over the summer period, because they usually are quite proactive and are very competitive. Likewise, if you're applying for Oxbridge or medicine or any of those other competitive pathways, you'll need to meet the 15th of October deadline. But what will happen is you'll have an application form, whether that's universities or higher apprenticeships. You'll have an application form where you fill out lots of basic details, and you'll need to have a reference, which will be either, if it's a higher apprenticeship, it might be just saying this is a person that can give a reference. If it's UCAS, we'll write the reference for you. And you'll also be required to have a personal statement. For UCAS, that's 4,000 characters long, and for higher apprenticeships, it's roughly around the same amount, although different providers will set their stipulations for that. So that's our end goal. The basic details that you need to fill out, that can be really, really quick. We can do that in about half an hour. So that's not something that we really need to prepare for. But that personal statement, whether you're going for a higher apprenticeship or a university, is absolutely crucial. That's the thing that's going to set us apart from everyone else. So we need to make sure that it's absolutely brilliant, that it's better and unique than your competitors. And if we start that early, then we've got more time for feedback. We've got more time to hone any problem areas or any areas where there's perhaps some gaps, and we can get it absolutely perfect. So the first thing that we need to know is what kind of things we have at our disposal already. So you will have already had some attainment scores. Now that will be in the form of GCSEs, and it might be in the form of additional qualifications as well. Those are things that you fill out as part of the basic detail on any application form, and there isn't really any changing of that. With the GCSEs, for example, that will be the first thing that universities will look at. They'll look at your GCSE profile. Because the entry requirements for the sixth form were relatively high, it's not something that I'm going to labour at this particular point, because your GCSEs have been relatively strong. What attainment they'll also look at are predicted grades for your A-level or BTEC courses, and the school will be setting them. We'll be setting them in September / October of this particular year. We would have been using the end of year trial examinations, but we'll obviously have to come up with a different approach for that, and we'll see what we can do in September as well. So don't know exactly how we're going to be calculating it this particular year, but it's usually a holistic approach. It usually takes into account a number of things as well as teacher recommendation. In terms of experiences, these are things that you've already done that perhaps universities or employers would be looking at favourably, and we can generally divide them into two different areas, or categorise them into two different groups. Now these groups and these lists have been also created by Unifrog, and you can have a look there, and I'll direct you where you need to go if you're looking at using Unifrog, which you should really be after today's assembly. So the first set of experiences that you might have might be supercurricular or academic experiences. Now these can come in the variety of a number of different things, and they're not just exclusive to the four that I've written down here, which are watching a relevant film or documentary, being part of group academic work, independent academic work, reading books or academic literature. It can be anything to do with your academic profile. But what we don't want to see in a personal statement is a student just saying, here's what I do for my courses. They'll know that already. They'll know when they look at your basic details what courses you're doing. So we don't want to repeat that. And that's a danger, and that's usually a sign of a poor personal statement. The kind of personal statements that really stand out are those students that are doing that extra reading, that are going above and beyond their subject areas, and are getting involved in opportunities which are super curricular. So these are things that extend from just their subject studies. So things like the EPQ, for example. The other set of experiences, and these are ones where I know that a lot of you will have plenty of experience in, are extracurricular opportunities. I'm not going to read through all of these, they're relatively straightforward, and it's not the case that you need to have one of each. It's a case of that you just need to have a selection. So Miss Sparks and I were talking about good personal statements last week, and we were looking at a personal statement of a now year 13 student, and for theirs they were talking specifically about community service and volunteering, the fact that they had been involved in sport during the school, that they had school responsibilities as well, either at this school or in their previous school, and they talked a lot about their work experience. So it's not the case that as well that these are the only extracurricular opportunities, or those are the only supercurricular experiences that you can get involved in. There are others as well, so this list is not fully exhaustive. So what students tend to have when they get to us around this particular time, when we start going for the planning stage, is they already have some attainment. We have an idea as to what we might be predicting, and they might have an idea about what they're working towards, as you will already know, and they have a certain amount of experiences at their disposal. So the next thing that they need to do is they need to think about what they want to do, where they want to go, and how best they can sell themselves, and what kind of things perhaps they might need to do in the meantime that would perhaps showcase them in a better light. So in terms of what to do, I know that a lot of you in the year group already have a clear idea. So a lot of you want to be medics, lawyers, teachers. Well, actually, not that many of you want to become teachers, but there's plenty of different students across the year. They've got a variety of ideas about what they want to do. It's okay if you're not sure, or it's okay if you have a general idea at this particular point. And what I would suggest that you do is if you aren't quite sure, if you don't have a specific idea, go on to Unifrog, complete the 2 boxes which are at the bottom of this particular screen, so the personality profile and the interest profile. The idea of those particular tasks are their quizzes, which will give you a general idea about what kind of fields you might want to go into. Likewise, you might have an idea for a career, but you might not know what's the best route to go there, so have a look at that careers library. In terms of what to do as well, if you have a good idea, if you're interested in that university route, then go on the subjects library, type in the field that you're interested in, and go to the Geek Out tab. The Geek Out tab will give you lots of different supercurricular activities that you can do in case you haven't got them already. If you're interested in higher apprenticeships, and you're interested in maybe a financial higher apprenticeship, or it might be that you're interested in something like construction, likewise, go onto the subjects library, type in finance or construction or quantity surveying, whatever it may be, have a look at the university equivalent courses, and again, it will give you those reading opportunities, which will be so important if you were called for interview for a higher apprenticeship. So that's the first thing that you need to do if you haven't already. Try and narrow that field about what you want to do. And a reminder, it's okay to take a bit of time on this particular stage, but by October, you really need to have a clear idea. Secondly, you need to think about where you want to go. Now, in terms of the vast majority of you will be making a UCAS application. UCAS is a separate system which doesn't go live for you guys until the 19th of May, so we're not going to do anything on UCAS at the moment. But what we can do is we can use Unifrog to look at the UK universities which will offer courses that are relevant in the areas that you're interested in. Likewise, there is the apprenticeships tool. The apprenticeships tool is 24/7 updated, and the problem with that is that you won't have an idea about the apprenticeships, specific apprenticeships that will be available in 2021. But you can have a general idea around this particular time as the opportunities that are available. Likewise, there's a US universities tab in case you want to go abroad. There's European universities as one as well. There's a Canadian one. There's an Oxbridge one. Do have a look at them and start narrowing that field, because it might be difficult to get involved in open days this particular year. I would also suggest that once you've kind of had a look at certain universities using the Unifrog tools, go onto those universities' websites and have a look at their virtual tours. They're starting to do things like virtual open days, and they're even saying that you can sign up for them. There's talk as well about having like webcams or webinars for certain talks about certain subject areas. So if you are interested in a certain number of universities, start adding yourself to those mailing lists and getting involved in perhaps some virtual open days when they arise. The final thing is the one that we're really focused in on though, and it's how we can best sell yourself. Now, in terms of how we're selling ourselves in that personal statement. And today is not showing you what a good personal statement looks like or the format or the structure of it. That's going to be next week. At this particular point, it's absolutely crucial that you do these two things. If you do these two things, you'll find that when you start writing that personal statement, it will be so easy. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to the activities tool and you need to record at least 10 activities that you have done. Now these activities are the list that I gave you in terms of experiences on a previous slide. So those super curricular opportunities and those extracurricular opportunities. It might ask you for a referee. That's somebody that can just vouch for the fact that you've done that particular thing. It might be a parent, a coach, a teacher, might be anyone at all. It's not really too important, that particular one. The main point of the activities is to write down all the things that you've done. It might be that you've been to some interesting places when you've been traveling. It might be that you can speak a second language. It might be that you're learning another language. It might be that you've set up something, that you've got a school responsibility. Whatever it is, you need to record it, and record at least 10. The reason why is when we're doing personal statements, we want to select the best ones. And usually what happens is students don't necessarily think of all of the activities that they've done, and as a consequence they forget something on their personal statement. So a good example would be a student that I taught a few years ago that had a good personal statement. I asked them a few questions about activities that they might have done, went through that list, and then they proceeded to tell me that they spoke 3 languages fluently, something that I didn't know, something that wasn't in their personal statement, and was something that would have been particularly helpful for the fact that they were applying for a business course. So please make sure that you do that for next week. Now I'll be checking with Miss Sparks on Unifrog this week. We'll be looking at those students that have completed the activities. If you haven't, we'll be chivvying you along as well. Parents, if you're watching this particular video as well, please make sure that they do that. And it might be a good idea for yourselves to sit down with your son or daughter and to go through different activities that they might have done. A word of caution on that, try and choose activities that you've done since year 10. We're not that interested in activities, and universities and employers aren't that interested in activities that you've done lower than the age of 13. So anything from about 13 onwards is okay. Secondly, and this is something that we've mentioned a few times, you need to record how those activities have improved certain competencies or soft skills. If you're looking to do higher apprenticeships, this is absolutely crucial. You must do that. For UCAS, it is important that you do at least 3 or 4 different competencies. For higher apprenticeships, I would suggest that you try and do all 12. So that's your main task for this week. You have to do the activities and the competencies, and we'll be checking up on that. That will make the next process of trying to sort out this personal statement so much easier. So have a really good week. If you have any questions about this particular video or any questions at all, just get in touch with myself or Ms. Sparks. And next week's video will be concentrating on the structure and the form of personal statements. Thanks very much for watching.